Let's welcome him to the program. He is a great Delaware Valley guy through and through, and a great football man. Sean Padden. Look at that beard you got rocking, brother.
How we doing, boys? Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. I'm doing it off the phone. Is this working out okay?
Yeah, just stay right there. Actually, perfect. If you stay right there, you're great. You're great. First of all, I was just talking about you and how deep your ties run here, from here. You and Matt have had an incredible relationship, from Temple to Carolina and now to Nebraska, brother.
Yeah. I was born in Scranton, but grew up in Norristown ever since I was 5. I was the last graduating class of Bishop Kenrick, PCL North. Matt and I met at Albright College in Reading, Pennsylvania. I coached the D line. He coached the linebackers, and we just created a good friendship. We understood each other. We both kind of had the same mentality. Him coming through Penn State as a walk-on, and me being just a Division III guy, where you're eternally a walk-on. And we just kind of hit it off and just stayed good friends, and only coached together 1 year. But I got out of football, and at least out of college football, in 03. That was my last season. I was the D-line coach at Fordham, and I was just in the private sector, coaching West Philly Tar Heels, the 5 and 6 year olds, and then Matt became the head coach at Temple, and I had that itch to get back in, but I sort of stepped away from coaching, but I thought I could help on the operations side, on the business side of things, and so we went from Temple to Baylor to Carolina, and now to Nebraska.
I forgot Baylor. How can I forget Baylor?
Yeah.
You turned that one around too. It's such an interesting time. And this is what we were having a conversation. We don't know anything about the new rules and the landscape of college football. You are the GM, basically. You're Howie Roseman of a storied franchise, right? Of a storied program in Nebraska. I mean, that's basically what you do.
Well, it's a different animal in terms of there's no collective bargaining agreement. There is no draft. So there's certainly, and I'm certainly not on the on Howie's plane by any stretch of the imagination. What an amazing GM he is! But it is a lot of the recruiting, but it is also a lot of the interaction with our collective, with our NIL collective, and that relationship is invaluable to us. The 1890 initiative is invaluable to us, and I work with them every single day. They have contracts with a lot of our players, and a lot of times they communicate things with me and through me, and I talk with the players, and we try and turn everything into another life lesson. A kid says, hey, my contract is up, I'm thinking about talking to them about X, Y, or Z, and you want to help guys advocate for themselves and help help them. We're allowed to facilitate guys in their deals in terms of helping them out and talking to them. And so sometimes you give them ammo, you know what I mean? You give them, hey, listen, you're a contributor, you're on the field a lot. You can't be direct pay for play, but your marketability is certainly greater because of the accomplishments you've made. So, but it's just not a straight direct. It's just the landscape changes every freaking day. I'm looking at email alerts like, oh, this court just came down, or this court just came down, and it's the landscape is insane. But I think that it's starting to shake out a little bit. There's still a lot of question marks need to be worked out, but we're starting to see some shape and form to how this may look moving forward.
Well, and how did the recent court case, right, where the NCAA settles and says Power 5 conferences can now pay players, so the schools can pay players. So you're going to have your own payroll, and then you also have NIL, right? Are they going to be together? Is it separate? Is it one big pool?
It's sort of unknown. So the settlement, the settlement case moving backwards. They've kind of agreed on terms. How that's exactly going to work moving forward is just filled with a bunch of conjecture. We're not exactly sure how it's going to work. In my mind, as I try and start to see what it starts to take shape is think about it as the team itself, the university itself is taking care of a certain, like in the NFL, I think it's paragraph 9, certain amount of dollars that get allocated to them. And then your NIL, your initiative, 1890 initiative may shift into a full-blown marketing type situation where they're really trying to capitalize, the way this was always, first initially looked at in terms of name, image, and likeness, as opposed to a straight collective, payment type of situation. It's going to basically say you're going to have the cap, and then what your collective can help you earn under real market value directives, and real market value figurations, like, okay, you're worth this, because you think about it and you say, well, around here, our guys are the Philadelphia Eagles. So what would it cost to get an Eagle to come sit down and have dinner with you? It'd cost you a pretty penny. You know what I mean? So I think there's marketability opportunities for our guys, and I think that basically it'll be like, getting, like the Yankees or the Phillies go above the, they pay the luxury tax. um, then perhaps, these collectives will help teams go above and beyond what is allocated directly through, the universities. So, if
So
if
you
if,
almost
if
see it like this, so there's a base for everyone on the team, right? So there's a base for everyone on the team, and then from there, your starters and then your stars, your better players and stars will get X amount on top using the NIL.
I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I don't know how that's going to be monitored. Right now, I'm trying to just work out different scenarios. Okay, what if it looks like this?
Right,
What if it looks
right.
like that? What if it looks like 85 is the cap on the roster? Well,
Yeah,
are they going to allow practice squads? Are they going to
yeah,
allow like club squads? Like what's going to go?
yeah,
85 is a really tough number to practice with, in my opinion, to really
yeah.
get good offensive and defensive work on both sides of the ball, and special teams. Now, the NFL does it with way less, but um,
Yeah, but
that's the
that's
way the owners
different.
want it. And
Yeah,
that's
no,
the way the
you're
owners want it.
Yeah, but you're right. That's different because you in college you need those big rosters. You have to have those big rosters because you have such turnover. The turnover you have to have that.
Well, there's no. Listen, every Tuesday you're bringing in guys in the NFL and you're working them out. There's no free agency pool that you're working off of. A guy goes down, a guy goes down. Your practice squad is your practice squad, but there's a whole universe of players that you could pick the phone up and they'll be there, and as soon as they can get their butt there.
Yes,
But that
yes,
doesn't happen in college. You got to look around and see who do you got is who do you got. You know what I
yeah.
mean? There's no waiver wire.
You're going to be going
So
to English lit class looking for big kids.
well, heck, our mutual friend Zach Gelb, I tried to get him to walk on, when we were at Temple. He came to a morning workout, and I thought he was a walk on. I was like, "Yeah, what's up, big man? How we doing?" And he's, pencil and paper. He's a reporter. You know what I mean? Temple News. But yeah, you're always looking for big bodies. That's for sure.
It's so wild, and that's I'm just so fascinated by this whole thing because look, I love college football, and this is going to be an amazing year with the playoffs, and I'm just imagining your job. It's way more convoluted and way more difficult being the GM of Nebraska than it was the Panthers.
Well, you would love the clarity of not going through a third party, or not working through a third party, or having a third party work through you. um, it's difficult, and without a CBA, honestly, I hope I'm not opening up any can of worms here, but without a collective bargaining agreement, there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of people making money off of it being a gray area, and it's staying a gray area, and consultants and this and that, and like, I just want to get rid of the gray, to be able to sit down with guys and be very honest about this, that, and what they can be compensated for, where we can help facilitate further compensation through real market value, and take it that way. But the ambiguity is what's driving you nuts, because you just have these conversations and you're talking to recruits, or you're talking to recruits parents, and they're trying to navigate this space and they don't know where to go. I mean, heck, you and I talk about it, on the Yo Kids, like,
Yeah.
where parents go to, what third party source, is helping parents navigate this space. And the bottom line is that nobody really knows. It's conjecture all over the place. There's a lot of gray areas, and so hopefully it's starting to clear up. I'm hoping so.
No, and it's funny. Like when you're a recruit, you're talking to a big recruit, right? Say you're going after some big quarterback. What's that process like? And they come in with a certain demand, right? A certain expectation.
Well, no, I think you don't really. You're talking from a contractual type of situation,
Well, don't
like
they
an
have some
NIL
sort of
dollar thing.
expectation? Is there an expectation for compensation, right? Like if you got you hear of some left tackle who's in the junior and he's out of Lincoln, he's near you, and then he wants to come there, but there's a certain level of expectation for compensation. Like, do the parents say, "Hey, this is what we want," and you got to marry the NIL? Like, how does that even happen?
So one of the recent court cases, or one of the recent decisions, and I think it may have been Virginia or Florida, um, to where they had the NCAA went after one of the universities, I believe, or one of their collectives, because they were having contractual conversations ahead of time. And so that was the NCAA tried to strike that and say, they're not allowed to have those conversations, or you're not allowed to facilitate those conversations. And I might be mixing some of these things up here, but basically what the court injunction came back and said was no, you can't, um, you can't not allow that. You can't not allow. So what that did is it opened the door for more conversations with collectives, and families. Um, but those conversations happen directly with the collectives. And for us, the families can reach out to the collectives and we can provide that information. But for us, it's really not until the end, so to speak. We're, if it's not a request for proposal, like kids aren't coming around asking for numbers and numbers and numbers. Some agents are, but we're not going to, our collective's not going to engage in any of those conversations in an early scenario, or whereby there's, uh, you gotta want to come here for the right reasons. You want to
Right.
want to be here for the right reasons, and so let's find those things out first, as opposed to, some kid saying, "Hey, what's your number? Oh, what's your number? Oh, what's your number?" Like, that's certainly happening, but that's not how we operate.
I mean, it's bizarre because it's almost like the parallels of free agency are just like that, right? Like even if you're in the portal, so if some star cornerback goes into the portal and he's like, "All right, Nebraska, Michigan, Ohio State, this is my number," right? Like I mean, that feels like free agency. It's bizarre.
Oh well, it is. It's free agency twice a year. There's two free agency type windows. If you look at it that way, if you treat it that way, if for us, it's a truth telling time of year. And so some of the guys that, that have gone into the portal for us are guys that we love, guys that we're sorry that, that we lost, but they felt that their opportunity was greater at another place, and they can only come to that conclusion by us being honest about, where we feel about it. So it's the poaching, it's the tampering, that happens, that is, that's really a pain in the neck, to be honest with you. You have people chirping in guys' ear saying you could be this or you could do that or you could do that. I mean, the portal is also filled with a lot of guys that have been, told misinformation
Yeah.
and been given numbers that were like, well, if this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens, then you'll get sort of this much, and then some places guys are finding that out not to be true. Um, I don't know. I hope that would never happen with us. And I think our collective has a great setup to whereby they operate at a very high level, and so I'm glad of that. But I think that as far as the portal goes, yeah, if you view it, you can view it as free agency. I mean, we've it's not that we haven't taken guys out of the portal. We have I think that in the anytime there's turnover in a head coach, you sort of have craters in the roster, from a recruiting standpoint, and sometimes you got to fill those craters, based on departures or misses on guys that didn't quite work out. But you early on, you kind of do that. But it's a reality that it's sort of free agency twice a year.
You know what's wild is that it's happening in college sports. Who's to say it doesn't happen in high school, right? Like, isn't that the next frontier where, you're St. Joe's prep and you go, well, I got this eighth grader. Like, I want that kid. And then how soon till they start getting paid? I mean, it's there's no reason why it wouldn't trickle down.
I'm not speaking for the prep or to that particular example, but there are places where that happens. There are places where that happens today. There are schools that try and induce kids to transfer, and they can, in certain states, they can use NIL to induce that. In certain states, it's well, they use it to go around it. I shouldn't say it's allowed, but they use NIL to kind of work around some of those types of things in states where that's allowed. There's some states where NIL is not allowed. It's not allowed in Texas, and I think that's a really tight run. The Texas High School Coaches Association is
Yeah.
a really tight run and moves very conservatively and well thought out wise. But I think they're avoiding it because you could see a heck of a lot of that in certain states.
Yeah, it's wild. Hey, the playoff is awesome, right? Like the playoff, especially having playoff games on campus, is going to make I'm so excited for this season. I can only imagine you guys hosting a playoff game, what that atmosphere would be like.
Oh my God, the place would be insane. The place would be absolutely bananas. Oh gosh, that would be great. I mean, don't get me wrong, but just in general, having playoff games on campuses, it's going to be so much fun. It is going to be so cool. And I'd rather have an argument over, the higher seeds in terms of who gets to be involved as opposed to lower seeds in terms of who gets to be involved. Like we'll get closer to getting it quote unquote right, as it were. But the it's just going to be so much fun. Just more access. It's kind of like Major League Baseball. You know what I mean? They put in the wild card, they expand the wild card, and all of a sudden you are still alive. You know what I mean? Like you are still alive. And I think that the way college football has sort of worked over the years is that you lose a big game early on, you're kind of dead. You're kind of dead in the water. You lose two big games early on, you're dead in the water. That's not going to be the case around here. You know what I mean? Like you can you might stumble here or there against a really good team or against two really good teams and still get a chance to get in. And so you're never dead. And I think that's what's going to make a lot of excitement for a lot of different teams across college football.
And you know what I love about it too, because I think it helps the regular season, because now the pressure to schedule cupcakes lessens, right? Like, so now you'll have better early games. Like one of the things I thought college football should do, it already has Labor Day, but the week 0 thing is interesting, right? Like, because it's standalone to yourself. So besides Labor Day weekend, you have week 0. You can use that and and schedule some big games, and it doesn't matter if you lose. You're still going to be involved. You're still going to be it'll still help you out, and that just allows the sport to grow.
Yeah, I mean, but don't get too crazy on the week zero stuff. I need my CL time. You know what I mean? You're killing me. You're killing me. All of a sudden, camp's going to start mid-July, and I get absolutely no time. But no, I that week zero's idea is a really good point in terms of just taking a hold of it. And I think that you're right. Well, here's the thing: is what do the conference schedules look like? Do you have to play 9 conference games, or do you have to play 8 conference games? That also plays into your scheduling, whether cupcake, non-cupcake. Like, who needs another beater and who needs another world beater if you're playing 9 conference games? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that is going to, like, you should, that's another question mark. When you add certain things, it affects other things, and so when you're looking at scheduling down the road, what does your conference require? Does it require eight conference games or 9 conference games? That's going to affect who you schedule and how creative you get. I mean, you know.
So listen, as a true Philadelphian, I know you're paying attention to the Phillies because you make the pilgrimage to Clearwater every year. You and I might have had some tequila in Clearwater.
Maybe.
How about the story that is Citizens Bank Park, 42-19, Sean? I mean, what an amazing! It's the era of good feelings, man.
It's phenomenal. I remember years ago, my buddy is is with the Dolphins now, but anyway, he's a Yankees fan, and I kept telling him, "This is our century." I said, "This last century was your century. This is our century." And all of the different things that sort of we've done, you know what I mean? I just remember the steel workers rolling out the thing for Tommy, you know what I mean, and cheering him on as the free agent that came in, and as they were building the new stadium, and the trajectory from that point on, in my mind, hey, we can get big time free agents, and then all of a sudden the minor leagues, continue to produce great guys, and then you had that great core, Utley and Howard and J. Roll and having all those years, but now it's right back. You know what I mean? We kind of had a little bit down, but now it's right back. But I think it's because of that. I think that ballpark plays a role. Number one, people want to play there. People want to play there. That the idea that people don't want to play in Philadelphia. Well, maybe soft people don't want to play in Philadelphia, and that's fine. They can play somewhere else. But people want to play in Philadelphia. The atmosphere, Reese Hoskins last night. You know what I mean? The just the love affair with someone that just does it the right way, and always carried himself with class. You would just hear what his teammates said about how he is as a leader, and so when that person comes back to Philadelphia, there's nothing but love, because we get it. The Philly fans get it, and so people want to play there. And then you have a great ballpark like that, and you have an organization that. I went to a couple of minor league ballparks when we were down there, you know what I mean? And some of them, but it's like a shrine to Philly fans,
Yeah.
that park down there, down in Clearwater. So I think there's this symbiotic relationship between the fans and the Phillies that the Phillies get just right, you know what I mean? And that the Phillies themselves, the players themselves, truly understand. They truly understand what the fans want to see, and they want to give it to them.
What's the first thing you get when you come home?
I got a Zepp from Eves, a Zeppelin. That's a Norristown thing. You know what I mean? But a Zepp from
My
Eves.
wife's from Norristown. My mom always talks about the Zepp. I'm like, what's the
Oh
Zepp?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and you guys invented that thing. I guess it's a hoagie without onions, just
No lettuce,
tomatoes,
no lettuce,
no
no lettuce.
lettuce. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
no lettuce, and then it's up to you. I love the crushed hots, the crushed
Yeah.
red hots. I love that. But yeah, that's what I got last time. I was just home recently, and I said, yeah, and we'll argue about anything. In Norristown, it's Eves versus Lou Zepps, and I'm an Eves guy because I'm a Kenrick guy. So Eves was right down the road.
That's fantastic. My brother, listen, always great catching up. Thanks for some clarity on the sport. It's wild. So I'm fascinated by this whole thing. Really, really
Yeah.
interested. And give Matt tell him, give him my best. And my brother, we'll see you guys down the shore soon.
Yep. See you soon. Always great talking. Thanks, cuz.
See you, brother.
We all city like the mayor.